Hey guys, and how's it going? Hey, we're going to continue on, I guess the working title is going to be Fruity Pebbles, the beetle that we pulled out of a swamp last summer and cleaned her out, and then on the last video tore the engine out of it and got into that. When we did so, we found that the engine is totally junk. It was underwater and pretty much everything on it, in it, and around it was toast. So we are going to go move on from this pile. And fortunately, it came with another engine that was sitting in the passenger seat. So we're going to go swap and clean up this garbage. I'll get this out of the way. We'll bring that engine over and we'll see what condition that one's in. At least that one turns a little bit, where this one was just done. All right, pop this one up in the stand. Start investigating what we got. Hopefully, that's not a good sign. Even though it had a rag in it, it's got corrosion in it. Again, that whole car was kind of corroded and rotten on the inside from sitting in the swamp. Yeah, that's why it's not turning over all the way. Let's grab a shop vac and go suck off some of the crap that's in there. Joke there. And let's see if we have any mice here. We got mice underneath the tins too, so we're not gonna be able to get the plugs out. So we're gonna have to dig in all the way anyway. We've got to get everything off of it to clear all that crap out to get the plugs out. So we're gonna have to strip it down. I was hoping to pull the plugs out, throw some oil in it, spin it over, and do a compression test, but we're gonna have to do that with the sheet metal off of it. So let's start digging. I think the chances are there's anything in it for Earl. It's got something. Good enough to spin it a little bit. We're not going to run it with that, but just as long as the bottom end is wet. So the first thing I want to get the fan shroud off, so it's going to take the belt off. So everything we did on the other engine. If you just watch the other video, it's just going to be the same thing all over again. Let me see if it has a thermostat. It does not. Thermostat would go up to the center of the engine tin and work louvers, and it would reside right in this area, and it is not there. Sometimes they had ones that went over the fan too on the outside. I do not see any apparatus for that. All right, good. So we're going to be that screw on the other side, the band, and the belt. And we'll see if we can lift that fan shroud off and see what critters are living in it. Belt comes off fairly easy. There's a stud going through on the generator that you can put a screwdriver against. And it allows it not to turn while you're trying to untwist it. And it has a bunch of shims behind it. And the shims are the adjustment for the belt. Normally on a, I'm going to call it a normal car, you would take the generator, and the generator would be on a slide that rotated around, and you tighten and loosen the belt. Well, this is a fixed location generator, so you have shims you put in, and you alter them from between the two halves to make them closer or further together for making the belt tighter or looser. That's how long it's been on there by. That belt wants to come off. It's been a day or two. Yeah, that generator will spin. I think it's got a mouse nest in it. Yeah. There it goes. Got the band on the back, and then it's two screws on each side. One of the screws, it's spinning, so the nut that is on the sheet metal has broke loose on the inside and is spinning around, so we're going to have to go cut that off. Yeah, this one just keeps spinning around. That's broken off in there. Get a whiz wheel, we'll just knock the head off of it. See if we can get that off of there. Yeah, easier said than done. I think we're going to have to get a little persuasion on it with a pry bar. All the mice are on the inside holding it, not letting it want to go up. No, don't let me out. See if we can make a little room in there for that one to clear. See, it's all rotted out right there. There we go. We're in. Let's see what we get. Yep. Eviction day. This one looks about the same as yellow. Nobody living in there, huh? Oh my. Any corpses? Corpses. And let's go hit that with the shop vac, get what we can off, then we'll get the intake off of there. Hopefully they haven't damaged too much. Sometimes they get so much that it literally just rots the case. The piss urine really does damage on things. Hopefully that's not the case on this one. The Carmageia one was like that. It rotted out the case right in this area. Well, let's go find out. Yeah, we'll deal with that right now. Then we get the intake out of the way and dig a little further. Get the tins off. Just dig some of it out by hand. That's solid. That would cause a slight overheating problem. Air is supposed to blow through there. That's probably the biggest of stuff that sits of Volt VWs. If people don't take them apart and they get them running, it's kind of what they are unaware of this. I think it took out the tins too. The tins are feeling kind of crunchy. And over here. People talk about the mice and what's it, hantavirus, is that how you pronounce it? It's more a West Coast thing. New England doesn't have an issue with it. Not that you want to screw around with it. I think it'll kill you. The leftovers from mice, I don't know how long it would live too, being that, you know, this stuff went in here, you know, 25 years ago. This has been sitting here. So I don't know if a virus would last that long, but definitely when I go to take a air gun to it, wear a good HEPA mask. Yeah, it rotted the tin out. The tin's gone from the piss. Alright, I'm gonna go take a vacuum for the rest of it. Get it out of the way. It looked like I took out the heater, the oil cooler. Got it too. Rotted it right out. That oil cooler's no good. Well, unfortunately, that is not looking very promising. That's the top of the cylinder head. And you can see all the corrosion that has happened to that. So we may be on fail number 2, but we'll see. We'll keep going on it. This side does not look as bad, but definitely has a lot of that corrosion still going on. Let's get the intake and carb out of our way, and we can get these tins off and see what we actually got. See how these crack loose for us. Good thing about a 40, the intake manifold isn't arched over as much as like a 1500. So you could actually get a socket on this one and the other one. For those who saw that video, that one really fought you. And it seems like it's going to make life a lot easier. Do the same on the other side. As you go wiggle that one out of there. Vacuum hose and a fuel line. Let's go take a peek down those intake ports. See what they look like. Again, this engine did turn a little bit, so it can't be terrible. Oh, that jinxed us, right? Rust sitting right there in that one. Oof, that's bad. And a bunch of crap sitting in that one too. All right, let's get these screws out. Hopefully they come out and we can get these tins off of here, and we'll know what we're dealing with. Do we have any other? They don't have the front one. That one doesn't have the front one. Yeah, just two on each side. Looks like this one's probably going to break off, but let's go see. I made the mistake of hitting it lightly with an air gun. Can you tell? Let's see if you can hang on. I have a tool. Yes, I have a tool. It's called, oh, it went. Oh boy. Wonders never cease. I have a tool called a shake and break. It's good for stuff like this. It's a little, you put it in an air hammer. Man, that one's stuck. We're going to need it on that one. You put it in an air hammer and it kind of puts a shock wave through it while you're trying to turn it. I've showed it before, but we're going to need it again. Let's go try it on this. The one that's stuck right there. I'm going to go try the other two with a screwdriver first, and we'll know what we're doing, 1 or 3. Yeah, one of the two came out on the other side. So this is called shake and break. You put it in an air hammer, then it allows you to put down force wrapping on it, and then you can turn it while you're doing it. And the bits, you can just change the bits out to any of, your regular, impact driver bits. Go in there. I think it comes with some too, I'm not sure. I should get commission. All right, let's go try it on that. Broke the bit. Going bigger. Snapper, but it was going to snap anyway. Let's go try the other one. I think that one break, or did it turn? Nope, we got it. What's nice is it puts a little, like I said, like a shock wave down. So you put down pressure so it doesn't want to rip out. And it kind of shocks it down the length of its sketch screwdriver. Let's see, 90% of the time it works. There we go. Let's go take this side off. Should be the better of the two. See how bad this one is. Okay, she's packed in pretty good. Oh, look what. And this is the side that I know is screwed. So, get on this. Oh, it does have a tin. I've got to bend that one through. There we go. Oh yeah. The area I'm concerned about is all this right here. Let's get a vacuum. Clean that one up, see what that one looks like. Yeah, that one's so corroded. I had to go dig around it with a screwdriver to get all that white powder out of there. You can see more of it coming out. I want to go get that plug out, right? What do you think our chances are of that? I think that's going to be pretty much screwed. I think it's going to take threads with it. They have problems on a good day, much less this. I think we're going to go take and hit it with an air gun, try to break loose some of this other crap, get it out of there before I get the plugs out. We'll stick a paper towel down in there. Not that it's going to make much of a difference. There's already crap in it. We got the fan on evacuating our dusty air. What do you think our chances are? I'm not feeling very good about it, but let's go see. It's definitely taking threads with it. Oil will do nothing. Because it's the aluminum and the steel that become one. We'll find out in a second when we look at the plug if it took a bunch of aluminum with it or not. Right there where that shiny spot is. I need my eyeball. Hold on. Let's see what we got. Yeah, right there. You see that top around? Where you can't see anything. You're not looking. Yeah, see some of the aluminum that it took out? So you could run a plug tap down through there and clean that up. Sometimes it gets really bad. We still got 3 more to go. Let's see how we make out with those. I gotta switch ratchets to one that's not so wiggly, wiggly. Or we could just try this. Not as bad. Good, just a bunch of corrosion on that one. 2 more. Yeah. That looks like somebody stripped that one out before. Or it just came out now. One of those two. That one was fine. Alright. Let's get some oil down on those cylinders. Spin it over by hand and see how it feels. I came back and put my thumb over each one of them and blew them off again. Some nice thick oil we're putting in there. I put my thumb over and hit it with an air gun again just to get all the crap out below the plug where it was. My main concern is right now is that head so rotted out that it's right into the compression chamber? I don't know. Let's go try to go around real slow once. I already feel like we're hitting something there. Should I go backwards? I'm going to pop the cap off, make sure the distributor's not seized. I don't want to try to be snapping off the drive, so I'm just going to watch the rotor. Rotor's turning. Yeah. Almost all the way around. We're stopping right there. Let's go back the other way. I can see a valve being stuck in the head and the rocker goes to push it. Or there's just crap packed up against the end of the cylinder head and the piston just can't go all the way up. So it's whatever cylinder's at top dead center. Right there. So that is number 1 or number 3 is causing it. Let's go pop the valve covers off. I definitely suspect number 1 having a problem. I'm looking at the head studs right here. Someone's got that one like run all the way in. Some kind of weird, I don't know what's happening with that. They all should look roughly like actually a little further out than that. So someone's had this apart before. You see this one's way out, and that's how far the stud is running into the case. They may have ripped out of the case, I don't know. Let's see what we get. Actually looks pretty clean. Doesn't look too bad. Actually the cylinder head itself, let's grab a light. And you. Yeah, that's really clean. I bet you somebody put cylinder heads on or did something to this engine. Yeah, see the studs should look something like that. How much they're protruding. Instead, these are all over the place. That's weird too. That one's screwed up right there too. See how little of that one's showing compared to that? Is it in all the way? They have. I don't think that's bolted down all the way. I'm looking at the gap behind it. It kind of looks funny for some reason. Yeah, that'll explain why it's got a mile of play. Yeah, look at that play. The valve's just not coming out all the way. That's got like 80 thou gap to it. That could be just crap that's behind the valve, not allowing it to go backwards. So let's go work this a little bit more. And I'm going to pop you in the stand. We're going to go watch these rockers, make sure everything's moving like it should. So we got 3 valves moving. I'm going to give her a little bit of pressure, not go crazy. I have a feeling that this, because this has most of the corrosion, when this piston is coming up, I bet there's a bunch of crap in the combustion chamber of this white powdery stuff that just packed up against the top of the cylinder head, is my guess. We'll pop the valve cover off the other side, see if they're moving. This one, it just didn't get to the location for this one to move yet. I'm not that worried about that. Again, that's judging by where the rotor is. That wouldn't be the cylinder that is in the up position. But what we can do, just shove a screwdriver down the side and see which one's at top dead center. That is not. So it is not that cylinder because that one clears. So it might be that one. Remember what I just said? Forget it. So we're going to go keep an eye on this one. Let's go pop the valve cover on the other side. So it's going to be number 4 and number 2 that are going to be all the way up, possibly hitting. This side definitely looks a lot cruddier. Look at that valve. Look at the crap that's in that valve. All right, let's go rock it again. Watch those. So this should be top dead center that it is. This one should be in. I'm going to keep working it. See if we can get past it. It's already screwed. We're not going to hurt it. There it goes. I think it made it all the way around. Yeah. Good. Let's go watch all the valves. All 4 of those are going. Yeah, it's got a little bit of hesitation. It could even been just a little bit of rust on the top of the land. That's why I put the oil in there. Whoop, whoop. You hear it? It definitely has a little bit of a bump right there when it hits it, but it's going away more and more. Let's go watch the valves on the other side, and then maybe we'll, I'm not sure what we're gonna do. Just make sure all 4 of these are going. There they are. It's got ridiculous valve clearances. All right, back to the other side. One thing that concerns me, all those valves are tight, right? So on a VW engine, number 3 on this style, especially on a single port, that's got play. That one has no play. Let me get these. That one's got play. That one's got play. Possibly a drop valve. Number 3, exhaust valve. This is the valve on a VW engine. If it's going to fail, that's the valve that's going to fail. We're going to unbolt the rockers, take them off. If this valve comes out further than everything else, then we know that one dropped the valve. Let's go see. Could be just tight too, that's okay. I'm feeling a little bit more promising because it didn't, those studs are not supposed to pull out. That's not supposed to, oh, they're bolts, okay. So I'm just gonna go grab with a pair of pliers real quick, and I'm gonna go wiggle these and see what side to side play we got, and then I'm gonna look down the length of them and make sure none of them are pulling out further. Something's up with this one. It might have a broken valve spring. I'm just looking at, like, these all have like a single wrap going around them. You look at that one's got 2. Looks weird to me. Went to go wiggle around on the push rods. Yeah, one of them didn't want to come out. I think it doesn't want to come out because it took a hit. Big bend to it. I also don't know what that is. What is that right there? Somebody jammed that in there to hold the, is it a stick? So there's a deflector in here. Yeah. So what happened was they forgot to put the deflector in when they took it apart. So they tried jamming it in later and they used a stick to hold it in place. I guess it works, right? Let's go try to squish that push rod tube in some kind of semblance. And we'll see if, get that push rod out, see if it's bent. That may happen later, you know, get them bouncing it around inside the car. Let's get a little. And now it comes out. I think it's still straight. I'm gonna spin it. Yeah, we're fine. Didn't bend it. That's good. All right, what do you want to do next? Let's maybe we hook like a drill up to it. I'm gonna shoot some more oil in it, and maybe we'll stick a drill on the front pulley. We'll just kind of give her a good spin and let things kind of seat in a little bit. I should probably put that rocker assembly back on so the valves kind of fire. Yeah, let me go work on setting up some tooling. I put the other rocker assembly back on. So this one you can see the nut is out further than that one. Let's go see if that assembly is loose. It feels like it's tight. I don't know if somebody stripped out the other side and put bolts in it or lost the hardware. This is how it's supposed to be set up. 2 studs with nuts on them. Stop it. And the others just got bolts run into it. It's not the normal setup for it. All right, I'm going to shoot some oil down in them a little bit better, get them really soaked. Yeah, we'll give her a couple of them. It's just motor oil. Really soak her. I suspect it's going to shoot oil out the spark plug holes. And hopefully we get oil pressure. We start seeing some come out of the oil cooler. So let's go see what we get. It's got a lot of end play. That's the play in the crank. Yeah, she's oozing. She's done. It's not gonna hurt anything. We'll keep spinning it. It's good though. At least you know the oil pump's working. It is pouring out the back. We gotta stop. It's gonna make too much of a mess. I'll show you. Yeah, definitely coming right out of there. Let me go see if I can dig up another oil cooler. We'll throw that on there. The next, what I'm trying to get to is do a compression test. And the other thing too, as I was watching it spin, I was watching the crank go in and out. Let's go sit you up in a stand. It's something called end play. It's how much play is in the crankshaft, front to back, and it's like 6 thou. It's supposed to be really small, not 160 what it looked like. Let's go see what we got though. Judging by all the other meatball stuff that we found so far, I'm not really surprised. Yeah, that's a mile. That is ridiculous. Possible. So you can set end play by shims behind the flywheel, and you bolt it down. You're supposed to have 3 shims, and it makes up the end of the play. Possibly somebody has screwed up in there, but that's a pretty good indication. If they're there, it's a good indication that motor's just really worn out. It's worn to death. And my guess would have been the one that they took out and replaced with the other engine. Again, we're just poking and hoping on that answer. I guess you could find an old crappy oil cooler to throw on there. That's what it's supposed to look like. I think that's it. Let me get them swapped out. Just got 2 passages, a couple of seals on the bottom of it. Well, it goes up one side and down the other, and air blows through it because this is in the path. I don't know if you can see light through it. This is in the path of the fan, and so it blows oil, blows air through there, and it cools the oil off as it goes by. Hence, oil cooler. Screws are out, bolts are out. Let's give her. Bleh. Yeah, definitely had a hole right in, right through it, right there. And I would definitely say that if oil was able to pass through those are pretty much holes too. Let's pop the other one off. I'm gonna go clean up that surface. I gotta go grab a couple of seals. Those are tiny ones. So she said. So unfortunately, it's not the same oil cooler. The ID of is a different size. I'm gonna go jam a couple of seals on there and just bolt that down anyway. I went hunting for another one, but I couldn't find it. But when I went hunting, I found an ignition with a key, because that car has no key for the ignition. At least it wasn't for total loss. Actually, I think those will work. Those fit in there into the block fine, and they kind of line up with that spacer. All right, let's spin it again, see if that stays fairly dry. And hopefully it gets to a point where it starts pushing out by the rockers. But I always hope. be coming out the push rods. There they are dripping. That's good. So the push rods are hollow, and oil comes through the lifter galley up to the valve, and it helps lubricate the upper side of the engine. Those pivot points. Let's go get a compression. I'm going to go around and make sure I got play in all the valves, and if there's any that I do not have play in, like that one that we saw on the other side, I'm going to put a little bit of play in it, and we'll do a compression test, see if we get anything. I have a feeling the valves probably got a bunch of crud all the way around them, but the compression test will tell us right away what we got to work with. The other ones, you know, like that has a lot of play in it. Like I said, usually 6th thou is what you want. That's weird. I shouldn't have done that. Do I have not that? I don't have that captured correctly. That's why that one's wacky. I missed the push rod, or that, or it popped out on us. Hey, we're plugged in number 1 cylinder. You see the gauge? I think so. See if we get anything. We do, but our compression tester is not playing well. We'll try another one. That one's not holding pressure. Well, the drill's not going to give us as much RPMs as the starter would, but it'll give us an idea. Let's go see what we got. And that one says about 70, but again, it would be better than that if it was spinning up. I'm surprised it has anything. We're going to go through them and see what we get. And if we find that it's good enough, we'll later on, if we're able to get it to run, we'll take it and recheck it again after it runs for a little bit. See what they come up to. My biggest fear that was going to leak around that chamber right there, the cylinder head being compromised like it is. It seems like it's holding. Find a dead cylinder, then it might be an issue, but I've already gone past the point of, like, this engine is not going to be something that's salvageable for a car without doing a lot to it. So right now we're just having fun and just trying to see what we can do to go possibly make it run. I would not put a bunch of money into this. If it was the correct one for the car and the car was pristine and you wanted an exact different story, this is, you know, for this car, you'd probably want to put like a 1600 single port or dual port in it, and it gives you the most power, and it's the cheapest one actually to put together. So anyway, let's keep going. That one doesn't seem very promising, does it? And there goes the compressor. So kind of like an indication, like when a valve has a real lot of play, to me, if the valves are adjusted correctly, the seat of the valve has a bunch of rust and crud on it. So the valve is not coming up all the way. Although the spring is pulling the valve up, where the valve seats on the head, there's crap in between there. So as it kind of hammers itself together, sometimes that will blow itself out and kind of clear up, and the gap will close up, especially when you start seeing, you know, gaps of like 20 and 30 thou when it's supposed to be 6 thou. But we'll see. Let's go try it one more time. I threaded it in a little further. It's making noise. like it wants to try, but I have a feeling that's what it is. There's nothing there right now, probably because the valves are just cruddy around there. I don't know if I'd even want to try to take the cylinder head off. I think the damage between here is so bad and the corrosion is down there, you're not going to get them apart without doing damage and just trashing them anyway. All right, so we're going to go call number 20, see what we get on the other ones. And number 3. That seems pretty good. It was, what's that, 90? A little over 90? Yeah. And number 4. I hear the exhaust valve is not sealing. You can see it actually puffing out the exhaust port. Still got the play. And that one's saying like 40. Try one again. And now nothing. They're firing. I think the gauge is kind of playing with us a little bit. It feels like all of them do have a little bit of a compression to them. And I think if we're able to get spark to them and fuel to them, it should cough over and run, and maybe if it runs a little bit, they may you get a couple RPMs and like I said, they'll pop and fart, and as air and fuel are kind of going around the sides of the valve and the valve is hammering and shut, especially as you pick up speed, they'll have a tendency to clean themselves up, and the crap will kind of clear off of them. Same thing with the rings too. As the rings go back and forth, they kind of polish up the cylinder and take all the crap off, and the rings, if they're stuck on the piston a little bit, get a little bit of heat in them, they'll kind of move around and free themselves up there too. So, all right, what do you want to do? I say we could probably throw the intake manifold back on. We're not putting any tins on it. You could put plugs in it. Put the intake manifold back on it. See if we can hook up a coil. We got to get a starter hooked up to it. Again, this has a 6-volt setup to it. I have a bell housing that bolts to an engine, and you would run with a jumper pack, but it is set for 12. I think I got to go look at it and see if it'll match up to this flywheel. I don't think so. If so, then we got to try to come up with a 6-volt starter. Looks like somebody already stole the choke off the carb, but while we got it off, let's go just pop the 5 screws off real quick and take a quick look inside and see if there's, a pile of powder, or it's, somewhat functional. Put gas through it and see if it'll actually do something. You're gonna be one of those, aren't you? I just want to look into the float bowl. Open up. I think I got plenty of these gaskets. Hope I do now. That doesn't look too bad. Clean anyway. There's a main jet that's threads in from the side right here. Threads in right there. I'm gonna go pop that out, just blow some air through it, and we'll put that back together. Same with that one. Put some air, blow some air through it. And as far as filling it, we're not gonna hook a gas tank and everything up, but what you can do is through. Squeeze that out. See that hole right there? And that, when that's together, I could just take a squeeze bottle, I could squirt right into there. That'll fill up the reservoir down in there and give us enough fuel to run on, hopefully. There's a thing called an accelerator pump. What that does is when you accelerate, when you punch the gas, the carburetor goes lean for a second. It needs a little bit more fuel. So it has what's called an accelerator pump that squirts raw fuel in there and kind of makes up for it. That's this on the side. It's a diaphragm, and then there's a lever that pushes on the diaphragm with a bunch of check balls. It comes up around and pushes out of this jet and shoots straight down. Let's go see if. Yeah, I'm not going to go replacing that. We're building the carb, putting a carb kit in it, but I just wanted to see if that would do anything. The accelerator pump doesn't even look like it's moving all that much. That's this lever on the side. Yeah. So that would need a diaphragm and all that kind of stuff. We can get it to run without it if it'll draw fuel up. It's just if you go to nail it, it'll fall into place and bog. You just have to kind of do it slowly. Nope. Nada. There's also like 2 ball bearings that make like it draws fuel in, the door shuts with the check ball, and then you put pressure against it. You draw fuel in, and then when you go to fire it, it puts pressure against it, blocks that passage off, and has the other passage open up and has the fuel come up through here. So it's got like 2 little doorways, probably best way to put it. Doesn't allow it to flow back into the ball. They could be all jammed up and everything too. In case you want to know what one look like, this one's all brittle and hard too. But as you push on that, it moves fuel. It's supposed to. This diaphragm will move back and forth and push fuel up through that circuit when you hit the throttle. And this one's junk too. Problem is all the new fuel that has ethanol in them, they're not designed to handle that, so they all go to crap. This is the nature of them. No crud on those points, huh? clean. That's some contact cleaner. If you have an issue, that's where we're going to go look first. One good thing about this engine, which I'm surprised because there's just a regular vacuum hose hooked to it, is the Vacuum Advance works. Usually, if they have a piece of vacuum hose and not the correct metal, there's a metal hose that goes up to the carburetor. It makes a loop and it comes on down and goes back. That loop is so gas fumes do not come down and run into the diaphragm. It rots the diaphragm and blows it out. That one's actually okay. So they're very hard to come by, the Vacuum Advance setups. The diaphragms, I don't think they redo them, remake them. I think the wire holders, there's a little bit to be desired. Anyway, let's look at the Vacuum Advance, the direction that it's facing. Usually it's like that, and not that kind of weird angle that it's on. So I took and kind of went through the operations of where number 1 cylinder is and when it would need to fire. So every other rotation is a fire stroke, and that would be when the valves are both open, which they are on number 1 cylinder, and the pistons all the way up at top dead center. Normally, number 1 would either be right here or right here. They already have it so far out. Somebody probably took the drive gear or took the drive on the distributor apart and have it all out of whack. So essentially, number 1 is firing right here. So when I go to put this cap on, I know I need to get number 1 cylinder. It's off by that much, which would make it so if I rotate it, I don't know if it's loose or not, maybe it's just loose. No. So I got to take this and rotate it back so that number 1 is kind of lining up with that right now. Right now it's about right here. That's way too far off. It should be within 10 degrees, and it's not even close. All right, you got a good seat. So we are going to hook 12 volts. It's the 6-volt stuff. You can hook 12 volts to it for a short period of time. Power. I don't know if it's going to have spark. I just kind of threw everything together. I don't know if the components are good, but we are going to find out. We're going to give her a crank. Let's go give her a little gas down the throat, get things started, get the party going. The float bowl is full too. Let's see what happens. I got the wrong starter on it, so. It's a 12-volt starter. The gear is smaller than it should be, so it does not make good contact with the flywheel. I have a 6-volt. I don't know if it's any good. I'm going to go give that a shot and get that to... Plus, if it works, it'll crank a lot faster. The only problem is there is a bushing that's in the front of it, and the starter is supported by the bushing. If I go to try to crank this right now, it won't even do anything. It needs that support bushing, and between 6-volt and 12-volt, they are 2 different sizes, so I may have to go make one. She's puffing though. Get close. I also think that when it was kicking back like that, I have a feeling that timing is out. We need to kind of move that a little bit. So it's actually a day in the future, and I ended up going and buying a new 6-volt starter because everything I had was just crap. So it's good because whatever car that runs a 6-volt motor is going to need that anyway. It's not like it's going to go to waste. And I whittled out another bell housing to accept that. So I'm going to leave one set up for 6-volt and one set up for 12. And again, the difference between the two of them, there's a different size bushing that goes in the center of them that has to support the center of the starter. A lot of times people change starters in a VW thinking it's the starter. Meanwhile, it's the bushing that blows out and the front of the starter is not supported. So it just kind of kicks to one side and then the armature says, no, thank you. All right, let's get you in the stand. Let's go get some gas in it and try it again. I'll hook the starter button up to it too, so we don't have to cross it with a screwdriver. We have gas. Let's give her a little bit of that. And we need to get power to the coil. Somewhere. Shall we? See what? Ooh, oh, that does not sound great. Got fire coming out of the back one. Drawing a tad bit of current. Know how I know? That's how I know. I don't know if it's the starter itself. It really shouldn't be that. That wasn't that much of a crank. It's not even hot. Maybe it's this guy. Nope. You know where that starter was rebuilt? Give you one guess. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't get that starter long for this world. It's just what it is. I got a car battery hooked up to it now. Let's see what we get. Power to the coil. And where is it? There you go. Give her more throttle. We got. She's wanting to go. She's real close. I don't know how many cylinders it's running on. Sounds like maybe 2.5 or so. Again, I think if we can get it to run, the compression will come up, and then when those cylinders seal up a little bit, they'll be able to do their thing and kick in also. The one in the back here more than likely has a bad exhaust valve not seating because it's literally keeps shooting fire out. Literally fire going out of it. All right, I'm gonna go let it cool down a little bit. I'm gonna go and just check all the valves. See if I feel any of the valves that are tight. If I find one, I'll bring you back. And so we'll kind of adjust that one. Maybe we'll get some compression out of that cylinder. So all the valves feel fine. There's plenty of play in them, and finding that had tightened up. But it is still running all the old stuff. It's running everything that came with it. The plug wires, plugs, coil, distributor, points, condenser, carb. So, I think that we changed out was an old oil cooler to keep the oil in it. Other than that, that's really about it. And our 6-volt starter that does not seem like it's been rebuilt. It looks like it's got a great paint job. It doesn't say Bosch on it anywhere, so I don't think it's a remand from like a Bosch starter. One of those over there. But I got a battery and a battery charger. We'll give it its best shot to give her as much cranks as we can out of her with that hooked up. And then I'll give her another couple of minutes, let it cool off, and we'll give her another shot. See what we get. Let's give her another round. A little bit of prime. And power to the coil. Shall we? Give her some throttle too. John, stay. I don't know if it's too much or not enough gas. Let's give her that. Cool down. It definitely sounded like at one point it ran on all four. No, it's not bad. Definitely sounded like it ran on all four. I don't think it's sucking any gas from the float on the carb, on the float pole. I think it's just running off of whatever I'm putting in. I don't think it's drawing anything from that chamber that's in there. But yeah, again, what do you want for nothing, right? Also, I think what happens too is while it's sitting in the stand, it's starting to lean a little bit this way. And if we put raw gas in it, it just kind of wants to run down to the cylinders on one side, not the other. So it's not atomized, you know, you're kind of, I don't know, you want to call it half-assing it, or, you know, as you're dribbling it in. And unfortunately, when I crank down on the engine stand where the T kind of runs in, it's got kind of like a worn in spot. So every time I go to tighten it down, it wants to tilt the motor on slightly on an angle. I'm not quite sure how to get around that. It did give a, I gotta look back at it. I think it kicked out some fire pretty good though. Let's try to overdo it to that one side a little bit. I also think what happens as it runs, the motion that, see as I tighten it down, it wants to flip it back. I also think that the motion of the direction it's spinning, it's kind of like a gyro. It wants to, any better, or is that the same thing? That's better for a second anyway. Another thing we could try doing is putting that distributor back where it was too. I don't know how much it's going to help us. We can give it a shot. Just like that. If it goes to go, when we go to crank it over and it fights us and it wants to stop, then we know that's too far. That was my guess what the issue was, but fuel. All right. Power to the coil, a little bit down the throat. Let's see what we get. And a little bit of throttle. My hot lead was in the path of the exhaust. She's a runner. That's what it was. A little bit more time in the other direction. My battery lead, I had to go dive for it. It was sitting right across the exhaust. All right. I'm surprised it's not dumping more oil on the ground. I would have thought it would have had some more pushing out of the push rod tubes, but actually sounds pretty good. That definitely sounds like it's running all four. So hopefully maybe the compression came up on all. Yeah, that one's dripping pretty good. Probably also because it's leaning again. Yeah. Let's try it again. Well, just a bunch of big kids. All right. Is anything disconnected? I don't think so. Give her a little bit of that. I do think it's running off of this. As soon as I stopped feeding it, nothing was happening. So. Need one more hand. Yeah, it's not running off the curb. Try putting some, film that float ball up a little. Good. Seems like that might be dangerous. I'm holding them both in the same hand. Instead of squeezing the bottle for the fuel, I was hitting the trigger for the starter. That's good for it too. All right. Well, she's a liver. She does run. Now it's pumping the oil out. I'm surprised. I thought it was going to come back maybe on 2 cylinders and fart and cough a little bit. Let's go take the plugs out of it. We'll do a compression test real quick. We'll see if anything came back for compression, if the numbers kind of picked up now that everything got a chance to polish themselves. And we got a starter that can actually maybe spin it over. Hey, number 1 before had 70. Let's see what we get. I don't trust this compression tester. I have a feeling that she's a little wonky side. What was that, 50? I would have said it went down. Number 2 had 0 on it. I just don't believe it. It could be, you know, again, it still could have crap around the valves, but that's only showing like 15 pounds. But when I'm listening to it, you hear the stall in the engine when it goes to thump its way over. We'll do the other ones and then maybe we'll try something else for our compression tester, but this is the same one we used on the first round, so. I think number 3 had 90 on it. Because they're all lower though, it doesn't make any sense. 60, it should have come up. And number 4 had 40 on it. And that one's showing 60 there. So one of them came up. Again, it could be true. It could be just all the rust and crap that, I don't suspect the rings, I suspect the valves more, the rust that kind of built on the valves and the stems. But usually when it runs like that, it cleans itself pretty good. I was suspecting that gauge is no good, just by listening to it. So this is number 3. Yeah, that's more like it. So that is showing, I don't know, 75 pounds. I'm gonna go do them one more time with this, see what we get for one more set of numbers. So 75 on that one, and let's go real quick over here. What did we say number 4 had? 60? Yeah, 70. Not great, but a little bit better numbers than what we had. And number 2 is the one that showed 15 pounds. That's the one that probably be the best judge of character. And number 2. Nope. It's not looking good for number 2. Yeah, I would definitely call that, it's like 25 pounds. So definitely has some internal issues. Yeah, I'm just thinking that this may have even been the engine that was in the car that they took out, and maybe it was just so tired even back then it just wasn't making any power, and they went to go put the other one in there, and no good. That's on the video from before this on this car. I don't know, we got some parts you can kind of use over. We can keep the you know, the carb distributor, the intake, Heads are shot, blocks shot. The bottom end it's got so much end play, so the crank, all that's blown out of it. It's not worth fixing. Again, it's only a 40 horse, not very valuable engine. Has a ton of corrosion on the heads. You're not going to get these cylinders and heads apart without just totally thrashing them. And somebody's been in here with all kind of meatball. You know, you look at the hardware's all at different lengths. So it's got bolts in the rocker on one side and nuts on the other. It's supposed to be set up with the nuts like this, not bolts. So there's definitely been somebody in here doing some backyard wrenching 30-40 years ago. And we're trying to revisit it. But I had fun. I hope you guys did too, just screwing around with it, try to go bring it back to life. Look guys, I had about enough of this fun. I got some cleaning up to do. I'm gonna go through and pick out what I got good for parts. I'll probably just keep this whole engine together and just shove it up in the attic for now. And the other one's pretty much trash. We'll end up throwing most of that away. But we tried. All right, guys, with that, I think we're going to go in and get maybe something a little bit different besides VW stuff for the next video. But again, that hasn't been filmed yet, so who's to know? For now, we'll say goodbye to Fruity Pebbles, and hopefully the Super Beetle convertible, the yellow one that we did. Remember that? You thought this car was rusty. That car was really rusty. That had a good dual port in it, though. We actually got that car up and running and drove it around. So that might be a good donor engine to put in this, and then we'll switch this car over to 12 volts. But for now, I think we're done. I've had it. I got to go throw speedy dry on the floor, clean up its spillage, and clean the bench up. Till then, I'll see you later.